Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a cool, really tiny gun that has actually been requested that I review a number of times. This is the CZ 2075 D Rami. Now this is the subcompact version of the CZ75 platform. So this is a gun that came out quite some time ago and actually now is discontinued. I think its main competitor is really kind of the Glock 26. And if you guys follow my channel, you know I just recently released a Texas Gun Vault poll question of the week asking, is the Glock 26 obsolete? So maybe this gun kind of falls into that category for a number of different reasons. But before I get into the things that I like and don't like about this pistol, I want to thank the people that always make these videos possible. First and foremost is the person that owns this awesome tiny little pistol who lent it to the channel for review, and that is my good friend and local subscriber Matt M. So Matt, thank you so much. It means so much to me that you let me borrow your fine firearms for these reviews. I want to thank my Patreons as always, because right now I am a demonetized channel and therefore these range reports cost me a lot of money, and so my Patreons go a long way in helping me keep this content coming. And as always, the person that supplies all of the ammunition for these range reports, who is a good friend of the channel as well, Mark from Brownworks. And yes, it's that time in the video where I talk about how awesome Brownworks is. If you don't know who Brownworks is, they are a custom grip manufacturing company. He makes grips for guns like CZs, Colt 1911s, and Beretta 92s, among many others. Mark over there is an artist. He can make a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of different firearms out of a wide variety of different exotic woods and materials. And every grip that he makes is one of a kind, custom just to you. He can put on custom logos and engravings. His customer service is amazing. He makes sure that he knows exactly what you are looking for, and many times he goes above and beyond. I've seen many of his grips in person, and many of my subscribers have purchased grips from him and have contacted me and told me how satisfied they are. I'm going to put a link in the description below for you guys to go over there, check out his website, see all the services he has to offer. If you don't find something that you're looking for, make sure that you contact Mark, and when you do, tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. Alright, so let's talk about this pistol. I've already kind of told you what it is. It is the subcompact version of the CZ75, and I believe as of 2020, this gun is discontinued. Why that is, I don't really know. Who knows, maybe they have other guns in the lineup that just sell better than it. Maybe CZ feels like this design is a little bit obsolete, maybe it's a little bit too heavy for whatever reason, and just decided to go in a different direction. But let's talk about the things that I like and don't like, and I always want to start out with the positive, and the positive first and foremost is it's a CZ. CZ is a company that I have come to appreciate a whole bunch over the past couple of years. I really avoided them when I first got into guns. I was like, well, they're made in the Czech Republic. I really didn't know anybody that owned one, and so I kind of avoided them. And then people were telling me, man, you are missing out. You gotta go try a CZ. And then I tried them, and I was like, okay, I definitely see how awesome these guns are. And I can tell you, CZ makes some really fine pistols. They have a great design, and their whole lineup is fantastic. And even though I alluded to this gun's a little bit heavy, well, I actually know the reason why. It's because it has a metal frame, and I do like that. I'm a big fan of metal framed pistols. They just always feel a little bit more solid to me. I love polymer, don't get me wrong, and I see the advantages of polymer, but there's just something to a metal framed pistol that I just like, and it always feels so much more comfortable and well built in my hands. Speaking of the CZ design, I love the aesthetics of these guns. You know, these have those inverted rails where many pistols have the external rails. It just looks really cool. I feel like the lines of this gun and the design features of this gun are very, very attractive. And speaking of things that are attractive, this gun does have removable side panel grip. So just like I was talking about with Mark over there at Brownworks, if you want to customize this gun, you can, just like a 1911. This is a feature that I wish even polymer pistols had, because if you don't like the way the grip is, or the looks of the grip, you can't change anything on those. But this gun, you can. It just kind of harkens back to an older time and an older style of guns that you can customize to your heart's content. And finally, the thing I really like about this, and I do know this is the factory settings for this gun, are these sights. They have a 3-dot night sight system, and these things are absolutely fantastic. One thing that Glock, I think, really misses the boat on when it comes to sights is they always give you those little plastic sights, where other companies that are in the same price point give you nice night sights or metal sights. And I think CZ did a great job with choosing the look and the package that comes with this gun. I think it's very nice and very, very practical. So now let's talk about a few things that I don't like, and this is probably going to be the whole point of this pistol, which is the size. This gun is really small. I kind of put it into the same category as maybe like a Glock 26, and those guns are really small. However, the grip on this seems to be even shorter. Even though the capacity on the standard magazines is 10 rounds, I can barely get 2 fingers on that grip, and I have this dangling pinky. Now that's pretty common for most subcompacts. However, I really feel like the frame is even shorter than most subcompacts. And I got these big old beefy hands, and for me that's just a little bit too uncomfortable. So I think if you have medium size or larger hands, you might kind of find that to be a little bit too small, and I have a feeling this gun's going to be a little bit flippy for 9mm because you don't have all of your fingers on that grip. Another thing, when I told people that I was going to be reviewing this gun, they said, "You're gonna hate that trigger." And so here on the table, I should have brought out for this review a snap cap, because you're not supposed to dry fire a CZ design, and I forgot to bring the snap cap out, so you're gonna have to forgive me. But I will tell you that the double action trigger pull on this is really long and very heavy. It's not consistent. Now, how is that going to translate to performance at the range? I don't know. But just handling it here on the bench, I can already tell you that trigger pull definitely is long and it's heavy, and even the reset is kind of long. So if you're going to have a gun like this, that might be good because you don't want to have a negligent discharge. However, if you have to use the gun in some type of quick defensive situation, that could be a problem if you don't always train with it and have that in your mind. And of course, your adrenaline will be flowing in any type of defensive situation, so that may or may not be a good thing. Another thing I'm not really sure why CZ designed was the decocker. Now this gun has a decocker option. It is back here where normally you would have the safety. However, this is reversed from every other CZ I own in that the lever is actuated from the back instead of the front of the lever. I'm really used to having my thumb more in this area here and pushing down. Here I have to push in the back. And when I was at the range and I wanted to do a double action test every single time for every shot, that was odd to me. I kept having to put my thumb in a place I wasn't used to. It's weird that the entire CZ lineup would have the decocker in one location, and here it's in a different location, or it's actuated a different way. That was a little bit odd to me, especially knowing the manual of arms of CZs. Then we don't have an accessory rail. Now this is where I think the gun is a little bit obsolete, but that is something easily added to the gun. They could add something up here. Even Glock added an accessory rail to some of their smallest guns. Some they did, some they didn't, but many companies that offer subcompact, like the SIG P365, do have accessory rails of some kind. Now you don't really have a lot of real estate out here to do that, but they try to do their very best. And I kind of feel like that's what the concealed carry market has kind of become. A lot of people like red dots, and they like rails to put maybe a light or a laser. Mainly lights, but I totally see why some people might pass on this thinking, well, that's a little bit of an older designed firearm, and pass on it to buy maybe, as I said, like the SIG P365 or the Springfield Hellcat, which is in this size category. And the last thing I want to say is the slide release. Now, for some reason, having such a small frame, this slide stop is really far from my thumb. I have a hard time actuating it. I have to rotate my hand quite a bit to reach that slide stop. I'm not really a big fan of that. So if you're going to have a very small gun, you're going to make sure the controls are easily actuated by especially medium hand or small handed people. I have large hands and I have a hard time with that. So for me, the ergonomics and the controls and the manual of arms of this gun are just a little bit wonky. But that's the things that I like and don't like. Who knows, this thing might be the greatest pistol, subcompact pistol that has ever been designed. So we're just going to start shooting this thing here at the range. We're going to start off at 7 yards. I'm going to load up one of these 10-round magazines. We're just going to make sure this thing is functional. We're going to see where the point of impact is as compared where I aim it, what the recoil's like, and what the trigger feels like. So here's what happened.
So if you adjust this or this, you have to adjust where you look. You know that if your first point is 2 inches high, you know that you have to put that cross 2 inches more. You don't lower it. You don't touch this. You know that you have to put the cross in. You know that.
And that's not my best grouping, but the gun is pretty accurate. The thing I do notice about this is that it definitely is a little bit flippy. So I can see if you're going to be using 9mm plus P or running some type of light jacketed hollow point, this gun is definitely going to flip a lot. And so in a defensive situation, that might cause an issue. I like guns to be just a little bit bigger that I could control a little bit easier. I also notice that the length of pull of this trigger is kind of far from my taste when it comes to subcompacts. I feel like the Glock 26 and the SIG P365 just have a better length of pull. I find that my finger rests on the trigger just in kind of an odd place because of that. But the gun seems to function. It's not really that big of a deal. It's something that I could get used to, and it might fit your hands. Remember, everybody is different. All because I might have a less than positive experience with this particular gun doesn't mean it's not the one that fits your hand the best. I just give you the data points from someone that has large hands and beefy old fingers. All right, so now we're going to put the target out at 14 yards. We're going to double this distance. I'm going to go for the head on this silhouette target. See how I shoot it at this further distance now that I know what to expect from the recoil and the trigger. And I call this the accuracy portion, but no, I'm not bench resting it yet, but I just want to see what happens to this group. So this is how I did. And I had 2 flyers, and most of my shots were off to the left. Now, this is something that typically happens to me when I shoot Glocks, and it's because of my finger placement. Once again, talking about my larger hands. And so I'm having to grip this gun kind of weird, and so all of my shots are a little bit to the left, and I think that has to do with how I pull that trigger back. Just because of the length of pull, I have a hard time making it come straight back, and it probably moves a little bit to the left. Luckily, most of the shots were on the head. I had those 2 flyers, so it's something that I would just have to adapt to and get used to. In general, I don't shoot subcompact guns that great. It's of course a shorter sight radius. I like compact size, like Glock 19 sizes, maybe like a CZ P01. But Something I could get used to, but of course this is a concealed carry gun, not really designed for target shooting or maybe using at the range all the time, but I think for close up and personal self-defense, it'd be absolutely perfect. But speaking of smaller hands, I want to give my wife Becky a shot at shooting this. I'm really curious if her experience with it is going to be vastly different than mine, because her hands are so much smaller than mine, it might fit hers a lot better. So I'm going to load up another magazine, give her a chance to shoot it, and see what she thinks. Now normally she shoots these small guns really well, and she did not shoot this one well at all. And I was asking her afterwards, what didn't you like about it? Why do you think in the couple magazines that you did shoot, some on camera and some off, what do you think happened? And she said, I don't like the reset. It's simply too long. And I understand. She likes the Glock reset. She's just gotten used to it. Maybe she shoots Glocks the most, but she said this reset was really, really long for her, and she likes to go out just where the reset is and then immediately pull that trigger, and she wasn't always sure where that reset was going to be. Now that's just an artifact that this is a hammer-fired gun, and it's also double action. The mechanism's a little bit more complicated. Once again, it's one of those things, it depends on if you like that or not, if you shoot that type of gun a lot, and what your personal shooting preferences are. I am not making a qualitative statement on this being good or bad. I am just saying and transmitting what she said to you guys, what she likes or doesn't like about the gun. Once again, if this is the type of firearm that you like and you like those longer resets, it might be perfect for you. I'm just giving you this data point, because I know some people are gonna say, we're getting it wrong in that reset, it's not too bad. But for me, I like the shorter resets. You guys know I talk about those SIG SRT triggers and their P-Series guns. I absolutely love that. I love short resets. Maybe you like longer resets for whatever reason, but this gun definitely has a longer reset, and why Becky said she probably doesn't shoot it as well. So the next test I want to do is going to be a hollow point test, because when I reviewed a CZ PCR, or the Police of the Czech Republic, which is a very compact version of the CZ75 that I believe I also borrowed from Matt, it had a problem with hollow points, and is known to have a problem with hollow points, mainly because it's a European gun and they don't always test their guns for hollow points, because hollow points are bad in many of the European countries. They're outlawed because they're not civilized or whatever the reason is. So sometimes these guns don't run hollow points so well. So I'm going to load up another magazine with some hollow points. I'm going to show you what ammunition I'm using. I'm going to use some Winchester white box jacketed hollow point 115 grain, and just make sure that it runs in this gun, because I know if you're going to be concealed carrying it, most likely you're going to run hollow points. So let's see if we have any issues. And great news, I had no issues whatsoever. I even shot the gun better with the hollow points. Of course, those are 115 grain, so they're a little bit lighter, so they're going to be going down range a lot quicker. In fact, I kind of felt like the gun wasn't as snappy as well. Why that was? Well, you guys that are ballistic experts can tell me, but the gun seems to shoot better with those hollow points and the 115 grain. So I like it, didn't have any issues, so I would say it's good to go for concealed carry and the use of hollow points. All right, so now I've already alluded to the long double action pull that's really heavy that some people told me you're not gonna like. So using this decocker, I am going to decock between every shot of the next magazine, just see how that affects my accuracy, see if I can get used to that double action pull, if it can become predictable, and just see generally how does it affect the shooting experience. So I'm going to shoot this double action every time. So let's see how I do. And maybe it's because I'm just getting used to the gun in general. I actually felt like I shot that pretty good double action. The grouping was fine, and I was starting to get used to the trigger. It's definitely a long pull. It's definitely long and heavy. So I have no doubt that there's other companies that maybe you could send this to or buy trigger parts from to kind of lighten that up to make it a little bit better. But just coming stock from the factory, it's a little bit long, but it's not bad. And maybe some people, as I mentioned, as a concealed carry gun are going to want that extremely heavy first double action pull. It's just kind of a safety mechanism, especially if you have a lot of adrenaline running through your veins in a defensive firearms use. So that could be good or bad depending on your style and how you train. All right, so speaking of defensive use, I like to do the next test where I do a quick magazine change. Can I drop these magazines out, get a fresh one back in, get the gun back in action, and generally, how fast can I shoot the gun in a short burst? So let's see if this gun is ergonomic enough so I can do this fast. And as compared to other guns that I've shot, that was actually a little bit more difficult than I was expecting. We do have the long reset, which of course slows down my trigger pull. The gun is a little bit more on the flippy side than other guns that I'm normally used to carrying for concealed carry. And when I drop these magazines, because I got these beefy old hands, sometimes I have a hard time getting these magazines out, especially the extended magazine that holds 14 rounds. So when I try to drop that, I have part of that magazine touching the side of my hand, whether it be here on the back or my finger. I just can't get it out of the way fast enough, and I have an issue getting that magazine clear. So in a stressful situation, I might have a hard time stripping that magazine out, or if I push that button hoping that magazine is going to drop just like it did there, it might not, slowing me down, and that could be an issue. But I have that same issue with every extreme small gun that I shoot, and it's just my hand size. But once again, if you have medium or small hands, that probably will not be an issue whatsoever. But if you got those big hands, that could be an issue with this particular gun and the sides of those base plates of the magazine. And for my final test, I'm going to see if I can shoot this thing a little bit more accurate. I'm going to kind of put it up against a barrier. I'm going to bench rest it in a way out to about 25 yards, see what I can do. And I'm curious if this little gun, I can get a little bit better accuracy, especially if I'm up against a barrier. Well, in this case, I'm just going to use a couple of bags and just see how I can do, because I kind of feel like this gun wants to be more accurate than the way that I am shooting it. I just want to give it the best chance possible. So let's load up one more more magazine, and let's see how I can do at 25 yards and bench resting. And unfortunately, that gun still is not very accurate for me. It's definitely accurate enough for home defense or self-protection, but I would want something to be a little bit better performing for me. It definitely has that short sight radius, and the gun is just simply too small for my hands, but it might be great for you. But because of its size, it's just not what I would want to buy or carry for personal protection. So, what are my final thoughts on the CZ2075D Rami, the subcompact CZ75 chambered in 9mm? Well, let's go over the positive things. It definitely is reliable. It's very small, if that's what you're looking for. In my opinion, the frame is a pro and a con. I love the metal frame, but it's definitely a little bit too heavy. And for me, the shootability of this gun is deterred by its just extreme small size. But as I said, that could be a positive or a negative. But overall, the gun ran well. It has good enough accuracy. It's definitely well built. It's finished really nice. I think CZ does just a great job on all of their guns. It's definitely not the concealed carry gun for me, but once again, it might be for you. So on my star system, I'm actually going to rate it pretty high. I can't give it a perfect review by any stretch of the imagination because it just doesn't fit me that well. I don't shoot it that well, and I don't find it to be that accurate with this longer and heavier trigger pull. But I would definitely give it a solid 3.5 stars out of 5. It has a few things that I think are detractions away from it. The lack of the accessory rail. There's no red dot optic option mounting, so I know a lot of people like that on their carry guns. It's a little bit on the heavy side. Longer trigger pull. The ergonomics don't work for me very well. I don't like the fact that the decocker is in kind of a different place and actuates a different way than all of my other CZ pistols, but the gun was reliable. It didn't have any problem with any of the ammunition that I put through it. You do have some pretty decent capacity. You have your 10-round mags, and if you live in a place that you can have more, we do have a 14-round option as well, which does give me the option of putting that third finger on there, but it slows down my magazine changes. It has a lot going for it. And so this is one of the guns that is definitely not bad, but it's not for me. But 3.5 stars out of 5 based off of my criteria and what I like is what I want to give it. But this is a gun that I would recommend if you're interested in going out and trying. It's definitely a high quality gun, but you want to make sure it's gonna work well for you and fit in your hands the way that you want it to. It may or may not. So being that this is discontinued, maybe you can find one on the used market, maybe you can find one that's new old stock if it interests you, or maybe you're a CZ collector and you just want to have all the sizes. So I do think if you do like CZs, this is something that you would want in your collection. It's a cool idea. I think it's a very beautiful gun, well built, but only 3.5 stars out of 5 for me. Just not as accurate as I would want. Long, heavy trigger pull, a little bit on the heavy side, and the shootability is just not there for me. It just flips a little bit too much. So what do you guys think? Do you own one of these CZ2075D pistols or the subcompact CZs? What do you think? Do your experiences mirror mine? I would love to know in the comments section below. So, as always, thanks for watching.